All right. And we are live. Let me go ahead and just put out a tweet real quick that we are live, and then we will get right into it. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. This is the first episode of Casual Calibration. It is the new series that I'm starting where we're not going to do the whole map update, whole Ukraine thing. This is just more of like a little bit of a laid back sort of, we can talk about anything going on here. It'll be a lot more fun and just jokey and not as serious. So welcome in. I hope everybody is enjoying their weekend, their Saturday. Good to see everybody in here. Barry, the political realist, also on Twitter. Thank you. Raul Duran, second. Hello from Denmark, from Jan. Thank you, Jan. Greetings from Moscow. Greetings from Moscow indeed. It is light. It is late. Hit the like, guys. Support a friend, Scott. Yes, please. If you are new here, subscribe. If you are not already subscribed, that is the easiest way to support me. And if you are new, or if you're old here, you should know that you should have already liked and commented. And if you haven't, disappointed, guys. I'm just disappointed. Hello, Robert. Hello, Bald Topographical Map King. I like that title. Hello from Prague. Good to see you guys. Hello, Andrew. Hello, Gibbles from Virginia. Belgrade, Syria. Cool. Denmark here again. Cool. Got two people in from Denmark today. All right, guys. Well, just remember that during this any topic of conversation is allowed. We can talk about anything. I have a couple of different geopolitical news stories that I want to cover. So it'll kind of be like the stuff that we talk about on the live stream. Obviously, I'm going to talk about news and stuff, and this is still geopolitics is my thing. So if you guys have any questions about that, be sure to get them in. I will be answering everybody's questions today. So no need for super chats and super thanks unless you would like to support me. I'm not going to say no to those. I appreciate them so much, guys. But today is more just about getting everybody up here for questions and so on and so forth. So, yeah, this was actually, I was going to talk about this, but since you have brought it up so elegantly, I'll talk about it right now. Microsoft Corp said on Saturday that clients of its Azure cloud platform may experience increased latency after multiple international cables were cut in the Red Sea. I just saw this story. I don't know who cut which cables, but this is actually something that is probably going to become a lot more frequent as the sort of globalized world begins to close down. I mean, you know, as we begin to insulate ourselves and fight against more of our perceived threats and adversaries, undersea cable cutting, you know, a bunch of different sort of subversive actions can be taken. Blowing up oil pipelines like Nord Stream is a prime example of this. Sort of as like I said, as the globalized world begins to fragment and segment into a more multipolar world, you're going to see a lot more of this degrade. You know, get cut, other stuff like that, blown up, whatever. Why does Iran refuse help from Russia? I don't think they do refuse help. I think that Russia is quite overloaded at the current moment. They're dealing with Ukraine, which is a massive undertaking, and they're just not in a position. They weren't in a position to save Syria and Bashar al-Assad, which they would have in 2018, which they did in 2018. But, you know, getting bogged down in Ukraine, dealing with that was kind of the U.S.'s whole purpose in you know, either preventing the war and getting Ukraine into NATO, or, you know, the war happening and now Russia's distracted and bogged, and now you can do things like overthrow Hezbollah, overthrow Syria, and potentially cause regime change in Iran. I think that those things are lofty goals and not very easily achievable, but, you know, that's sort of where we're coming from. So I don't think it's necessarily they won't accept their help. I don't think there's a ton of help. I think that the Russians send them stuff. But at the end of the day, the Iranians are also incredibly nationalistic. the regime is, and they don't want outside control or dependency on their situation. So that's part of it, as well as the Iranians are rather stubborn about accepting outside help. What is this crazy advance in the Lyman direction? Okay, we'll go over there and check that out. We can always bring up the old map. I was actually just working on this, so I don't think it's a crazy advance. I talked about the previous advance here north of Darylove, where the Russians had reached the highway and this sort of body of water, creek, swamp area, and that actually cut off logistics into Shandorlove. So the Ukrainians here are being supplied through this one back road and then walked in. So this area should fall here soon. And then as we are moving down, we can see that the Russian forces have advanced here east of Darylove, which they're closing in on Stavaki. Over here, we have further movement towards Mirne, and there is actually a large fortification, I believe, in this area right here that I don't have mapped because I actually didn't know that it was there. So that's why this area is kind of this corner pocket is kind of holding, because there's a very large trench fortification that goes into the northern part of Zasharin. So, yep. Cool. And then down here in the south, in the Sherbiansky forestry, it's almost entirely closed except this bottom part right here where there may be Ukrainian forces or gray zone. Russian forces have again advanced south of Torsk towards the village of Yampil. And remember, guys, when Yampil falls and the Russians are able to access this road right here, the main supply route to Seversk will be cut. And then this entire front gets much more difficult to hold. And that's likely why you're seeing some movement here by the Russians now. As you can see, Russian forces have advanced north of Przine, which has actually captured the entirety of the village. And I made a prediction here where the Russians are going to be pushing up this Bakhmutovka River right here, which actually divides Seversk on this into a quarter that is on the western end. This is sort of the area that will fall under Russian control here shortly because of the Russian pressure up here into Yampil and then onto this road. So the Ukrainians will only be able to run logistics down some of these back roads, smaller, not as easy to maneuver on, and they're going to lose their ability to really supply this entire front. So expect some movement on the Seversk line now that the Lyman front is struggling. And then when we come over here to the Lyman front, we can actually go over and look at the topographical map. Okay. And I can show you. So remember that village. I'm sorry, here. Let me bring my map back up real fast. Remember the village here of Stavki. Stavki is very important to the defense of Lyman. And remember that Lyman is divided by the Seversky Donetsk River. There's all of these islands and canals in here. So this is very difficult to maintain supply. Importantly, supply comes from the north here, from the Izum direction, down through here, through Yorova, and then down into Lyman on the northern end of the Seversky Donetsk Canal. So this is a difficult area to cross. There are some crossings, but again, this bridge has been blown out. And there's some pontoon crossings and stuff, but they get hit regularly. So it's going to be very difficult to hold Lyman here, as it is sort of just isolated by the Seversky Donetsk Canal. But as I was saying, remember Stavaki. We will go over to the topographical map and look at that. So here's Stavaki. And just on the map, you can see that the Russians are now in control of a majority of the high ground that just overlooks Lyman. Here you can see Torsk and Zasharin, which is cut off. Or, I'm sorry, not cut off. It's in the low ground. So the Russians are now dominating the high ground here. As soon as they enter the village of Stavki and capture it, they will be on the major high ground looking down on Lyman, and it is going to be very difficult for the Ukrainians to hold this position with the manpower shortages they're experiencing. So we could definitely see Lyman fall, Seversk fall, and the entire forestry fall before like Christmas, realistically. All right. I'm going to talk about some stories. If you guys have questions, remember, you can get questions in. I'll be looking over at the chat every now and then, talking about some different stuff. So here is our first article. You guys have to listen to me read today, which I know is torture, but that's okay. Which one do I want to read first? Let's talk about this one, because this one seems to be kind of the most important. All right. So a new Politico article came out, and it has some people talking. I think that it's important that we take a look at this, because it should be clear what the U.S. is doing. The U.S. is not going to change its direction right now. That makes no sense. I described this to you guys like as a train. Remember, I used this analogy. The U.S. is a train on a train track. There is only a forward and a reverse, right? There is no left, no right. You cannot, there's not like a sort of free will option where you can go this direction, this direction. Sometimes there's turns in the rail line, but for the majority of the time, you are stuck on the rails, right? You choose a direction that is your overall planning and goal, and then you go in that direction. If you're consistently, just say every administration does the exact opposite of the previous administration, you're going to have no continuity of national organization or direction, because every 4 years you're going from a, say, let's just say a pro-Chinese position to an anti-Chinese position, right? 4 years of diplomacy with China, it worked great, trade is great, but then the new guys get in and they're anti-China, right? That's never going to work. You're going to be in a constant state of chaos, and it's not going to benefit the nation at all. You have to have a plan. You have to have a direction. And the U.S. has chosen the direction of being extremely aggressive and hostile in our foreign policy. This can be shown all over the place. In fact, there was a New York Times article that came out, which we will talk about, where North Korean civilian fishermen were executed by a SEAL team, a U.S. Navy SEAL team in 2019, during the Trump-Kim meeting and negotiation. So during the first Trump administration, Trump greenlit a operation by a SEAL team to go in and install a listening and communications sensor of some sort to pick up on all of the North Korean communications, potentially from Kim Jong-un himself and his higher up leadership. And this was all designed to cause a regime change in North Korea. So again, you have the U.S. negotiating, but really they're not negotiating. They're there to overthrow you. And this is something that I can't stress enough, and I don't understand how people aren't picking up on this. The U.S. government cannot be negotiated with. We will not be negotiated with. The only time we negotiate is to gain some sort of advantage somewhere. We're never conceding. We're never backing down. That's not what we do. We didn't do it with Russia, Operation Spiderweb. We didn't do it with Iran, struck their nuclear facilities. We didn't do it with North Korea, tried to go in and install a listening device and instead killed a whole boatload of civilian fishermen who approached the SEAL team, and then the SEAL team left because the operation failed, right? That's fucking crazy. That's insane. That's not diplomacy. That's just nothing. That's all you're trying to do is just cause chaos everywhere. And I've said this, the US thrives in this chaos because we are the strongest, we are the most stable, and we have the means to do the most around the globe. So that chaos benefits us, right? We cause chaos in other regions, in Eastern Europe, in the Middle East, Southeast Asia, wherever we need to, and then we benefit off of said chaos as things are unraveling, right? So when it comes to policy direction, the US cannot be wishy-washy and flippy-floppy, because nothing will ever get done. You're going to make enemies over here and friends over here, and then the next administration, they're not going to be your friends anymore, and that's not how a nation thrives or stays alive. So we're going to talk about this. This is the new Political article, an exclusive, which I don't know why they always say exclusive, because it's only here, but if I just copied and pasted it, it could be somewhere else. Anyway, Pentagon plan prioritizes homeland over China threat. So already this is kind of weird. We just changed the Department of Defense to the Department of War, which is just a political move by Trump to gain some propaganda support from his base. But if you're focusing on the homeland, if you're focusing on America, wouldn't the Department of Defense be the correct name for that department, right? You're no longer going and attacking Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, right? You're not doing that anymore, according to the United States, right? So the Department of Defense makes sense. The Department of War is something you have when you want to go attack China or Venezuela or Iran or North Korea or Russia, whoever you're deciding to go after this week. And so, when we're looking at this, and we will read this a little bit here, this marks a major departure from the first Trump administration, which emphasized deterring Beijing. By the way, not just the first Trump administration, but also the Obama administration before it, the Biden administration after it, and then the Trump administration for the first year, I guess, where they were talking about the division of labor in February. Pete Hegseth was, saying, we need Europe to handle Russia so we can handle China. But now that's just off the board. That's just changed. There's only two explanations. Either one, we're fucking lying, which is possible. It's always possible. It's actually expected. We are probably lying, so just assume that. Or two, we've realized that we can't beat China at their own game. We're not going to be able to live without them. And the sanctions on Russia, the pressure on India, none of it's working. And we're watching this big, powerful alliance begin to be built around China that we're not going to be able to counter. I don't believe that's the case, because I know Americans, we always think we can win. That's not how we operate. So I highly doubt that we are taking a step back and focusing on America's borders and all of this. And if you look at where our industry is going, if you look at the deals we are signing around the world, we're still arming Ukraine. We're considering $100 billion military allotment for Ukraine, in terms of us getting that money from Europe and then those weapons going to Ukraine. So you're not setting up, I'm sorry, not 100 million, 100 billion. You're not setting up $100 billion plan like that if you're isolating yourself and retracting back to your own borders. So we're going to read this. Pentagon officials are proposing the department prioritize protecting the homeland and Western Hemisphere. So this is a key statement right here, protecting the Western Hemisphere, not North America, not America, but the Western Hemisphere. So when I say we might have realized that we cannot directly fight China and control them like we tried with Russia in Ukraine, perhaps we are going to just focus on isolating the Western Hemisphere, getting regimes in the Western Hemisphere that we control entirely, and then utilizing the resources to then fight the wars later on, right? That doesn't prevent China from continuing to strengthen. So I don't really think that that's necessarily the direction we're going. I'm just giving it as an idea just because of the language being used. But again, usually we're just lying. A striking reversal from the military's year-long mandate to focus on China. Yeah, so you have a striking reversal out of nowhere. Why? Why the sudden change? Why, when you've been investing money in countering China, are you all of a sudden not doing it anymore? It seems like a lie to me. It seems like a false situation. And yeah, so A draft of the newest national defense strategy, which landed on Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's desk late last week, places domestic and regional missions above countering adversaries such as Beijing and Moscow. What? How does that work? So you made them your enemy, you've shown them your true colors and your face, and now you're going to stop? Like, I'm happy about that, sure. Why? I mean, I've always been about not spreading wars. I don't think that's what this is about. But, you know, if we were to isolate ourselves a little bit and really focus on the issues in the US and get ourselves back up to being an industrial powerhouse and a strong superpower instead of this financial house of cards that we've become, I would be all about that. But that's not what's happening here. And you can't just shift policy like this. It makes no sense. According to 3 people briefed on early versions of this report. So I don't know what you're going to do about these guys because they're not backing down, right? Beijing and Moscow are your adversaries now. You've ensured that that is the case. You have driven Russia into China's arms. You have driven into India into Russia's arms. You have opened up Iran, North Korea, China, Russia, and India all to be able to do business with each other. It's a fucking train wreck. This is the worst outcome from this entire situation. You have a militarily strong Russia. You have an energy independent China now. You have an India who is not on board with the West, which is a new revelation. You have Iran, who is now going to leave the non-proliferation treaty, which is exactly what I said was going to happen and is probably actually part of the intention. Once they leave that, we will be able to make the argument that Iran is going to produce weapons of mass destruction. We will probably do a strike campaign against Iran. But just for this article's sake, what do you think Beijing and Moscow are going to do? Do you not think that Beijing and Moscow are going to keep accelerating and going against you? Do you think they're just going to forget all of the war planning you've been doing? And now you're just, oh, guys, we're not doing that anymore. Beijing's not a threat. Even though Trump was literally just talking about Russia, India, North Korea, and Xi, Putin, Kim, Modi, and Xi all conspiring against the United States. Make it make sense for me. What are you talking about? What is the possible plan here? Does it make any sense? Yet last week you were saying that the new axis of evil is conspiring against you. That would be like Roosevelt during World War II being like, oh man, the Japanese attacked us in Pearl Harbor, but we're not really concerned about them. This is in 1944 when we're starting our campaigns everywhere, right? We're not really worried about them anymore. We're just going to focus on domestic issues, which might actually make sense. We were coming out of isolationism, but not after Pearl Harbor, obviously. So but that's like the same situation. It's like, Hitler, that guy who we talked about being in the axis of evil. He's okay. He can have Europe. It's whatever. We're going to focus on our issues. It's like, what? How is that going to work? That doesn't make sense. All right. I keep clicking on the wrong article because I have 2 political articles. The move would mark a major shift from recent Democrat and Republican administrations. Okay, so here we go. Continuity of agenda. That's what that means. So I have some people constantly trying to argue that there is no continuity of agenda in U.S. politics. Get fucked. What are you talking about, dude? What are you talking about? How does that make any sense? Weedless Scott is a bit scary. Yeah, I got a little riled up. Hey guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't yet. I'm enjoying this. This is fun. There is no plan. Yeah, that's a good take. I agree that there's probably no plan. Also, nice bald head, my man. Here we go. So continuity of agenda, because both are Obama, Trump, Biden, Trump, all did the same thing, including President Donald Trump's first term in office when he referred to Beijing as America's greatest rival. No longer. He saw that parade, and that parade really set Trump back. Trump was sitting there and he was like, no fucking way. Look how big their missiles are. Holy shit, they can march in order. There's no way we're ever going to counter them. Holy fuck. And it would likely inflame China hawks in both parties who view the country's leadership as a danger to U.S. security. Actually, a real concern because you've made them your enemy. So now they are definitely coming after you. They're coming after Taiwan. They're going after the South China Sea because they saw what you did in Europe. They saw what you did in the Middle East, and they saw how you were preparing to do the same thing against them. And I don't think that that has changed. I think that this is complete bullshit, and they're just trying to do the old flip-flop bullshit back and forth. Oh, no, China's not our enemy. We're doing this over here. We're overthrowing the Venezuelan regime because this is priority to the American people, right? Because Venezuela is the cartel capital of the world, and we need to overthrow Murdo because he's the king cartel. He's the kingpin. I'm going to kill myself, guys. I'm going to do it. This is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It makes no sense. But they sell it to you like it does. It's perfectly understandable. What do you not understand about the Venezuelan government that we've been trying to overthrow for 10 years? All of a sudden in May becoming the fucking pit of cartel activity. And that doesn't mean there aren't cartels coming out of there, but there have been cartels coming out of Colombia, Brazil, Venezuela, Mexico for the last, 40 years since we created them? Since the CIA said, hey guys, you should probably make cartels down here and run drugs for us. Like, what are we talking about? This is going to be a major shift for US and its allies on multiple continents. Oops, sorry, Moscow, you're no longer our enemy, right? And this is actually part of, I believe, part of the pivot is pretending like Russia is no longer the adversary. Like you're not going to be producing and sending long-range strike systems to Ukraine, which you then provide strike data for so that they can kill more Russians. What? Who is dumb enough to not see through this crap, dude? Who actually sits here and believes this shit? Retarded people who have no idea what's going on, which is 95% of Americans. That's why I do this show, is so some of you have an idea, but most of you are from Europe, and most of you already know what's going on because you actually care about this stuff, and that's why you're in here listening to me rant about this shit. Not my target audience, but my key demographic, so I appreciate you guys. The report usually comes out at the start of each administration, and Hegseth could still make changes to the plan. I hope so. But in many ways, the shift is already occurring. The Pentagon has activated thousands of National Guard troops to support law enforcement, to get anti-Semitism out of the streets, to support law enforcement in Los Angeles, Washington, and dispatch multiple warships and F-35 fighter planes to the Caribbean to indirect the flow of drugs to the United States. Isn't our border closed? How are the drugs getting in? Can't we strike them once they get to the border and they're actually a threat to the United States? Or do we have to just go and extrajudiciously kill citizens of other countries in international waters because we feel like it? Because we don't want those drugs to maybe reach America, even though they're on a speedboat outside of fucking Venezuela. What? Huh? I'm pretty sure that those drugs were not coming to the shores of the United States. They don't have enough fuel in the boat that they were driving to get there. So no, you're just killing people because you want to have a cool thing to post on Twitter and then a reason to go and overthrow the Venezuelan government. Go overthrow the Mexican government. I'm absolutely positive more drugs are coming up through the Mexican border than from Venezuela. I'm sure a lot more drugs are coming out of Colombia and Brazil than out of Venezuela. But what does Venezuela have? Do you guys know? Can anybody in the chat, when you guys get a second, does anybody know what Venezuela has? Other than beautiful women, of course. Anybody know? Somebody does. Somebody does. Somebody does. Somebody does. And gold. Tasty, tasty oil. Look, all of you guys know what's going on. You don't need me to tell you. You're on it. You're on it, boys. You got it. So, right? You're being lied to. You're being deceived. I don't know if any of you voted for this fucking retard, but if you did, he's not doing what he said he was going to do for you. So, that's awesome, huh? That's awesome. All right, here we go. Also, by the fucking way, why the fuck do you need F-35s? You have a whole fleet down there. Why do you need F-35 fighter planes to counter narco? What? Because I'm pretty sure the DEA needs F-35s fucking yesterday. We need to get them the best stealth technology we can find yesterday, right? Right? No, you know why they need F-35s? You know why they need advanced warships down there? Because the Venezuelans have F-16s and they're buzzing their boats and they're not backing down from the fight. That's why. The cartels have S-400. Yeah, so we got to sneak in. Like, fuck me, dude. Like, how stupid does the American population have to be on board with another fucking regime changed war? But this time, it's on our side of the world. And if Venezuela is destabilized and then South America is destabilized, where do you think all that destabilization is going to go? Do you think it's going to stay in South America? What are we going to nuke the Panama Canal so nobody can get up? Like, what do you think is going to happen when you force a regime change in Venezuela? Do you think it's going to engulf the whole region in stability? Is Argentina the new Israel in South America, saying, come on, guys, they got weapons of mass destruction. Get down here and take care of them? It's crazy. It's crazy. Crazy world we live in. Dude, this is the most wild fucking statement I've ever read in my entire life. That has to be the most peak cover for regime change I've ever seen. And F-35 fighter planes to introduce the flow of drugs to the United States. I just love the idea of the cartels only being able to be struck with stealth aircraft. That there's no chance that they're going to be able to take care of these speedboats in the Caribbean without F-35s available. A U.S. military strike this week allegedly killed 11 suspects. There were not 11 people on that boat, but whatever. Members of the Venezuelan Tren de Agua, a gang in international waters. A major step in using military to kill non-combatants. Well, that's a really good way to twist it, huh? Could you imagine if this was China? Could you imagine if China just killed 11 Filipinos off the coast of the Philippines because they were sneaking drugs into China? What the fuck would the U.S. say? This is a war crime. This is a crime against humanity. It's a crime against a foreign nation. It's an act of war against a foreign nation in international waters. That's what we would say. But when it's us, when we want to do it, it's okay. The Pentagon also has established a militarized zone across the southern border with Mexico that allows troops to detain civilians, a job normally reserved for law enforcement. Oh, wow. Why don't we just invade Mexico? Why don't we just invade Canada? Why can't we just actually do the shit we want to do instead of just pretending like we have to go do it because of drugs? The new strategy would largely overturn the focus of the Trump administration's 2018 defense strategy, which placed deterring China at the forefront of the Pentagon's efforts. No longer, boys. China is not our priority. They're still going to become the new empire, but they're not our priority anymore for whatever reason. It is increasingly clear that China and Russia want to shape a world consistent with their own authoritarian model. The opening paragraphs of that document said, but now they're not. But now they're the good guys. Now they don't want to do that anymore. Now they're very relaxed. It's just so shit. It's all just shit. And it's garbage, and it's low tier garbage, and they're force feeding it to you. Do you guys believe it? Oh, man. All right. And now we get to see, let's see. What was the other thing I wanted to show you guys? I wanted to show you some of my bookmarked things where I wanted to talk about, because this kind of goes in line with what we were talking about. Bookmarked. Okay. So the first one is JD Vance talking about the recent U.S. strike. Let me remove myself so you guys can see it. Killing cartel members who position our fellow U.S. citizens is the highest and best use of our military. Aha! The best use of our military. Really? Our $1 trillion a year military. You sure about that? Are we sure? What? I'm pretty sure a National Guard unit could counter the cartels if they had the means that the U.S. Navy has, right? You don't need the entire U.S. military down there countering drugs, bro. Like, what are you talking about? And then I don't ever agree with Brian, but killing the citizens of another nation who are civilians without any due process is called a war crime, which I'm pretty sure he supports Ukraine, and Ukraine does a bunch of civilian bombings and shit. But if it's the Russians, it's different. When it's Republicans doing it and you don't support the current administration because they're not really supporting Ukraine, then you go against them. And then JD responds with a very based answer if you are American, because you know it's actually true. And he goes, I don't give a shit what you call it. JD Vance doesn't care if he commits war crimes. Why would you tweet that? What? JD Vance is not just a neocon. He is the Palantir fucking birth child that they're going to turn into the president in 2028. When we're at war. By the way, we will be at war with somebody, or we will have been in a war, and JD Vance will likely run for president in 2028 and win. Because the Democrats don't have fuck all to put up against him. Based, actually. Yeah, it's based until you remember that he's the sitting vice president of the United States of America, not some fucking dipshit on Twitter who's being edgy. He is the sitting president. He would be the one launching nukes if Trump was killed or something like that. Like, what? It's based until you remember who the fuck you're talking to. Some little fat couch fucking dork. Like, what are you talking about? No, he's not a gem for that. You guys are just, again, do not go along with this shit. It's garbage. It's garbage. This is not how the U.S. should be behaving around the globe. It's not. And this is embarrassment. Embarrassing. So there's that. And then here we can talk about this, which is just sort of a funny little thing. In Kiev, chief engineer of a Patriot air defense unit killed after Russian strike. And this, so an admission that a Patriot commander was killed in 2024, December. A petition on the Ukrainian president's website revealed the death of Lieutenant Colonel Denis Sukhan, chief engineer of the air defense unit operating the Patriot system. His relative Yana Sukun is asking that he be awarded the title Hero of Ukraine. During a massive missile attack on Kiev, Sukun was on combat duty. His crew downed several ballistic missiles, all of them actually 100%, one of which was falling directly onto the system's position. A fire broke out. Because why? Why did a fire break out after a missile was down onto his position? And the officer personally rushed to save the equipment. Let me get this straight. Homeboy here, Homeboy here thought, hey, let me try to go blow out the fire on this Patriot system. That's what Homeboy thought was the right way to go about this. Try to get it before it cooks off. And not to make light of somebody's death, but I mean, come on, what is this post about? A fire broke out. The officer personally rushed to save the equipment. At that moment, the warhead exploded or detonated and killed him. It was the downed missile warhead that didn't hit the ground. It was down, but then it detonated and killed him. The fuck, dude? The fuck? Why make this story up? If he got hit by a missile, he's already a hero. He sat there in his Patriot system and was trying to shoot down the ballistic missiles as they were coming in. But no, he was actually alive. And then he made a decision to go and kill himself. What? Okay. So that's another interesting post. I thought that was funny. And also, I get told all the time that Russian missiles never hit anything and that there's no Patriots have been destroyed, this, that, or the other, even though we've seen it. But no, none have ever been hit in Kiev, guys. None of them have ever been hit in Kiev, except when they are. Except when they are and when they do. So, yeah, that's a goofy that's a goofy thing. I thought that was worth mentioning. Just a little update from Ukraine. The road between Slavyansk and Izum, where I was just showing how it was going to really bottleneck logistics into Seversk, is now being struck by Russian drones. Russian drones are now operating over the road, hitting logistics. So this is very important. This is going to further slow down the Ukrainian armed forces. Here's another video. The highway is just littered. Any truck moving supplies is being targeted. And then just for your guys' own personal, I guess I could do this over on the map, but I'll just show you right here with this picture. So as you can see, this road right here is the one that's being filmed, the Izum-Slavyansk road. And this is where the Russians are at. So the Russians are now able to reach this road with drones, which is going to put even more pressure on this entire salient here, right? Remember that to the south, the road between Dropopila and Kramatorsk has been cut by the Russians. And it's not actually cut physically anymore as the Ukrainians counterattacked. However, it is still under drone watch, just like this road is, except way closer to the front, way more drones. And supplies are no longer going into Dropopila and then being sent to Kramatorsk. They have to come up this back road or this back highway into Kramatorsk directly, which is also under drone threat. So the entire pocket here in the east is getting much, much, much tighter. All right. I think I had one more thing to talk about. Yes. So here is the news about missiles coming in to Ukraine. Well, these are actually glide munitions for it's like a JDAM, but with extended range. Aviation Week, citing U.S. Air Force documents, report that Washington plans to send Ukraine the first lot of 840 ERAMs, which again are these longer range JDAMs, split between two designs separately produced by Virginia-based Co-Aspire and California-based Zone 5 Technologies. So designs separately produced. So you have two different companies, two different designs, which is already going to cause problems, I'm sure. And these are supposed to be delivered by the end of October 2026. Guys, 840 munitions over a year is what they're talking about being delivered. That's pitiful, especially considering how strong Russian GPS jamming and electronic warfare is against JDAMs and their accuracy. This is going to be a major issue for the munitions that they do have, let alone the limited amount of munitions that they're going to receive. But here's the key point. Although Ukraine is cleared to buy up to 3,500 missiles, the first production run is smaller. The first 10 are scheduled for delivery on October 2025. The first 10. Huh? Huh? Russia fires more Iskanders in a month at Ukraine, a day sometimes at Ukraine, than they're going to receive these munitions. That's very sad, especially because this was supposed to be a very big thing for Ukraine. This was sort of the cope. This is like the Flamingo missile. The ERAMs are coming. Ukraine's going to be able to strike the Russians deep, do the damage. It's just not the case. But the ERAM can be employed by Ukraine's F-16 and MiG-29 fighters, armed with a $225 million budget and a fast-track acquisition process, which is just the most hilarious thing when you're talking about the Western MiG. The Weapons Capacity Task Force took little over a year to release the ERAM solicitations. Award contract to two non-traditional defense companies demonstrate the weapons on a U.S. Douglas A-4 testbed and a Ukrainian Mykolaiv MiG series fighters, and receive the prototypes according to Air Force documents obtained by Aviation Weekly. So, just to show you how the U.S. is going to produce for Ukraine, they're not. They're not. We can't. And this is another reason why when we were reading that Politico conversation or article, I was really focused on, I gave the opinion that it might be a realization by the people in power that they are not going to be able to confront China in the way that they hope to confront them, and they have to look for another means of confronting China that's not as direct. Right? It seems like the only option available. But I don't believe that that's the case, because I don't think neocons and the current administration has been very clear that they are fully on board with everything the neocons want. I don't think that that's going to change the actual direction that the U.S. is going. I think that they're still going to continue to counter China, and that's going to be the line that they pursue. All right. I am out of things to talk about except the non-proliferation treaty. Iran is set to back out of the nuclear non-proliferation treaty, which is the next step in the U.S. Going to war with Iran and striking Iran again. So everything is lining up the exact same way. I would not expect anything different to occur. I think that this is just sort of part of the plan. Make it so staying in the nuclear proliferation treaty is untenable for Iran. And then when they leave, say that they're building nukes. So have some fucking bullshit Mossad intelligence tell you that they got weapons of mass destruction and we got to go in and overthrow that regime. And that will be, and I've said this for a long time, Iran will be the final resting place of the U.S. empire. If we go in there and we do the damage that we're capable of doing and we overthrow that regime, or we don't, and we have to go to war with them, and you know, it becomes a lot greater, it will be the economic death of the United States for sure. Absolutely. All right. If you guys got any questions, anything you want me to talk about, go ahead, get them in now. We'll chill. Could COVID have been a measure to take down China indirectly? I mean, it was not strong enough. If you're going to release a bioweapon, why not release a real one? COVID just kind of made people sick a little bit and just destroyed the world economy. It wasn't just China. Do you think Solinsky will ever stop wearing the Dr. Evil outfit? No. No. You think Kupiansk will fall soon? Yes, I very much do, and I haven't really updated the area of Kupiansk lately because of this gray zone and just what it means. But we've got geolocations, and I can bring those up. The Russians have been geolocated here, here, and down over here. So yeah, Kupiansk is in a very bad way, and this area is expanding. And I'm also pretty sure that all of Moskova has been captured now. So I think I'm going to turn this green on this side of the Kupiansk River here. So this will be the next update on my map. I just am waiting for like the next. I'm kind of waiting for the front line to stabilize a little bit, just because I think that there's Ukrainians and Russians just mixed in all over Western Kupiansk. Thank you for your question. What are your thoughts on the NATO buildup? Where? For Russia, I don't think it's anything. If you talk about like in the Caribbean, that's the U.S. military buildup. That's not NATO. Are you just talking about in general them building up their military? Because I think it's too late, and I think it's the wrong direction. Question: are the Colombian mercs in Ukraine ex-FARC, or does the country just turn those kind of people out? Yeah, you have a lot of guys that are like former, military, former police, special forces units in the police, so like SWAT and stuff. They have a lot more of those in South America because they do a lot of anti-narcotic operations and stuff like that. So you're just producing a lot of very well-trained men, and then they get into society and they have a bunch of skills that do them absolutely no good. And they have two choices: they can join a cartel, or they can go be mercenaries, right? And a lot of them choose to be mercenaries. A lot more of them choose to be cartel, but a good number of them choose to be mercenaries. Thank you, Alexi, for your question. I appreciate it, brother. Your super chat. Is the Mexican president a CIA asset? It would make sense. I wouldn't doubt that. I don't think that he's probably a direct CIA asset, but I would not doubt that the CIA has blackmail that they use against all the different presidents, and they use economic blackmail and veiled threats and all sorts of different stuff. So it would not surprise me in the slightest if he was either put in by the CIA or controlled by the CIA, or goes exactly in line with what the CIA wants him to do. What do you think of the new waves of protests in Indonesia and Serbia? It's why you got to get rid of Western NGOs in your country, because they will literally burn your country to the fucking ground with your own people. It's crazy. The U.S. has the greatest soft power manipulation in the world. We can get people to die for us all over the place, and it's just wild. Can Sean Penn still afford coke? I don't know, man. Coalition of the Willing, do you take it seriously? Yeah, I think that if there was a ceasefire, the Brits and the French and the Germans would immediately put tripwire troops into Ukraine. I think they might still try to salvage Ukraine, but the Russians should not put up with that. I would literally strike the first group of people that entered that country immediately. It's the first thing I would do. Because here's the thing. Here's the thing about the West is we are all talk and we are all bravado until something actually happens. Because nothing ever actually happens to us. And then when something happens, it really puts us on the back foot. And sometimes we overreact in the other direction, but sometimes it's exactly what you need. It's like a little kid screaming and screaming and screaming, and then you just give them a little smack, and then they realize what's at stake, and they stop, right? Is Colombia going to be used as a proxy against Venezuela, considering mercs in Ukraine for military experience? I would say probably. I think that first off, it's not just Colombians in Ukraine. Colombians are the most, but I think people are really overstating how many Colombians are. I mean, we know how many Colombians are in Ukraine. I think like 400 have died. So they're going to bring back some of that drone stuff, and we're seeing some of it already. But really, I think that we might be overstating how powerful these mercenaries are going to be when they come back. Is it possible that we see a proxy war? Absolutely. I mean, the U.S. will use any means that they can. But it really does sound like we're just straight up going to force regime change. Do you think Russia will use Oreshnik again to strike? I don't know why they would. I said this. Why when you can just use 10 Iskanders? Just to show it off? I mean, sure, go for it. But how many X's in your shirt size? This one is 2. Most of them are 2X. Usually XLs are, they're a little tight around my chest and back. But then I'm not a fat guy, so then they're sometimes for fat people, which is okay, but they just don't fit me right. Berletic covered Indonesia 5 days ago, Serbia and Venezuela, all color revolutions. Yep, exactly. Right. That's why I said you got to get NGOs out of your country, because they will literally get the people in your country riled up and willing to sacrifice their own blood for the United States, which has no care for them at all. It's incredible. We're still seeing it with the Ukrainians. They still don't fucking get it. And it's just incredible. When do you think we will see Iran-Israel round 2? Whenever the U.S. is ready. We got a lot of stuff on our table. We got Ukraine, we got Venezuela, we got China still, we got Iran. See, this is the part. This is what I've been saying, is that we are on the clock. We are the ones running out of time. We are the ones losing the control. So we're acting aggressively all over the map, but not getting anything done. We haven't got rid of Iran's nuclear program. The genocide in Gaza is still going on. They haven't cleared the West Bank yet. They haven't annexed the regions, which is going to incredibly hurt Israel on the global stage. China's not putting up with that. Russia's not dealing with it. India's not happy. Even like Saudi Arabia and some of the other places where they've been talking about the Abraham Accords are not going along with this at all. I really do think that we are failing to do what we need to do. And that's why you're seeing probably this policy shift shit come out, is because nothing is going the way that it's really supposed to. We didn't overthrow Iran. We didn't denuclearize Iran. We didn't force regime change in Russia. The Russian economy did not collapse. The Russian military industrial complex did not collapse. China now has a secure oil supplier. China has a good relationship with India now, which is crazy. China also has a good relationship with North Korea now, which it hasn't forever because of sanctions and stuff like that. I mean, it has had a secret good relationship, but never public. And now Kim is hanging out with Xi in Beijing. We are living in an entirely new world, and you have to stop thinking about the old world rules working for this new world. We're not in the global war on terror anymore. We're not in the post-Soviet collapse era. That's done. All of that's done. This is the new phase of human history. Oh, how much clothing has elastane SP in it? Got to read the tag to check it's 100% cotton. I don't know. Why does it matter if it's 100% cotton or if it has that other stuff in it? You like your shirts handpicked or what? My jeans have to be 100% cotton. Okay. You and Brian are almost good at noticing. Almost. I'm going to ask Brian to come on here again. It's actually been a little bit since he's been on. You're a racist. We get it, bro. It's fine. Relax. All right, guys. That takes us to an hour. I think I'm going to wrap up the casual stream. Hold on. We got some more questions. We got one more question. What do you think about the protests in Serbia? Is it Maidan? We're just waiting to see it play out, brother. You're not going to know until it's already happening and it's too late. I don't think it's quite Maidan scale, and I don't think that the Serbian people are in nearly the same position that the Ukrainian people were in 2014. I think the world is just so much different that it's going to be hard to overthrow regimes without direct U.S. intervention. We have to attack the weakest possible opponent. Yeah, that is true. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you so much for watching Casual Calibrated episode 1. I'm going to be doing these probably every 2 days now, just getting more content out. I have some time. So thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will see you on Monday for a full regular live stream with map updates and everything. So be sure to tune in for that, and be on the lookout for more casual conversations with Calibrated, aka Scott, aka Aiden, aka I got a bunch of nicknames. But no, take care, be safe, and I very much enjoyed episode 1, guys. Have a good one.